Welcome to another episode of Spotlight. On today's programme, we've got Sophie Matthews, Managing Director of Tattersalls. Really interesting conversation looking at how the property market has boomed during the global pandemic. Tattersalls, tell us a little bit about it, what you do.
So we're an independent estate agent now. We were in lettings and property management for the first 4 and a bit years, and we've recently gone into sales. So we're located on Derby Road in Nottingham. We specialise in lettings, sales and property management.
So you started off in lettings, and you got your customer base there. You've obviously built up that part of your business, and then recently you've decided to venture forward into sales. Was that the natural way that you saw the business going by increasing the services that you were providing?
Exactly that, it was the natural next step to take to go into sales. There's a lot of business out there at the minute, a lot of people wanting to sell their properties, especially with the stamp duty holiday. So it just seemed like the right time. We had been contacted by quite a few clients that were looking to put their properties on the market. We had mentioned at the start of 2020 that we were potentially going to launch sales.
So did you hate it working for somebody else? Or did you look at it and think, if I was doing this, I wouldn't do it like that?
Yeah, exactly that. I think that when you're working for someone, you get to see the different ways of doing things and how you would potentially do it differently if you were in charge or if it was your business and you were making the decisions. After 5 years, I decided that I did want to go alone and set up on my own business. So that's what I did. I took the plunge. I quit my job in March 2016 and launched Tattersalls towards the end of May, beginning of June 2016, and just went for it. And unfortunately for me, I'd grown a really good rapport with a lot of my clients where I worked before, and it was like a natural. They followed me. I didn't do any poaching. I'm quite proud of that. I didn't have to do anything like that. They contacted me. I'd always had my own personal phone that I'd use because I wasn't given a business phone. So they all had my number and they all contacted me and decided to follow me in my business.
Amazing. And I wonder, myself, obviously we've got a young team here, and I wonder whether we'll never have anybody old. Because I just don't see how it would fit.
Yeah, the dynamic of the team.
The dynamic of the team, but the dynamic of the age portfolio as well. There is a massive difference between a 40-year-old and a 25-year-old now.
I think it's so different for every industry. I mean, we've got, I think our youngest is 21 and our oldest is 46 or 47. But the oldest one in the office she acts like the youngest, not in a bad way, but she's fun. She's we go out, we have a laugh, obviously pre-COVID, and she's like the mother hen of the office, but at the same time, she relates on everyone's different level. And I actually really like that, and I like having her there because I feel that the team can talk to her if they don't feel comfortable talking to me. I don't know if that's the case, but I know that they do confide in her and have conversations maybe about personal things going off in their life rather than work, and it's nice to have that different dynamic.
What's a setback that you've been through that you have overcome, and what did you learn about yourself going through that setback?
I don't look back in the last 5 years and think I've had setbacks. I think that it's small things that have had maybe potentially a big impact on me that would not have a big impact on someone else. When I first went live on Rightmove, so end of May, beginning of June 2016, I think I had 1 or 2 properties on the market at this point. Clients didn't know where I'd gone, hadn't notified anyone, and I just went live. And I remember sitting at my desk crying, thinking, what have I done? This is crazy. The phone's not ringing. I'd gone from an office the phone was ringing all the time. We were booking viewings. We were constantly busy. To just sat there thinking, what have I done? This is going to be horrendous. And even now we've recently gone into sales. Obviously, it's not as busy as lettings because we're not known for sales, and we're trying to let people know that we are in sales. And I always think back to what he said to me about 5 years ago and think it will happen. And every day that I think, oh, it's quiet, we haven't had any instructions, we'll then go out and we'll list 5 properties. We've got 5 properties going on the market for sale in the next couple of days. So it's just I think I have to remind myself that I've got to be patient.
So what would you say is the biggest lesson that you've learned?
Again, I think being patient, not to expect everything that just to come so quickly. I am very impatient as a person anyway. I want things doing now. Like my house is upside down at the minute. I want it doing now. Like I want my decking doing now. I want everything doing now. And it's just being patient and making sure that everything we do is the right way for the right reason. And I think, like I said before, not to take things so personally. I still do to this day. I think that if someone has got a complaint regarding something, I take it so personally because I've worked so hard to have such a good reputation. And when someone's not happy, you can't help but take it personally. You've got to try and just take a step back and think, right, okay, this is not me personally, this is a business. But when you own the business, it's so hard to separate the two.
Yeah, I agree. What's the best and worst part of your job?
I would say the worst part is not being able to shut off. And I think that's a good thing at the same time because it will help me grow the business to where I want it to be. But you're constantly on your emails at night, doing work on your laptop, taking calls at the weekend, and it's just a continuous graft. And I see that as a positive and a negative because your mental health suffers if you don't relax and you don't take the time out to just have a break from it because you're just constantly going and going and going. And I don't think you get the most from your business when you wear yourself down. The positive, I mean, I just love being my own boss. I love the freedom to do what I want when I want. I love that, it's not like a power trip sort of thing. So me and the team and I, we don't run like that. We are a team. There's no hierarchy, even though there is, but it's not a visual hierarchy. I love making the decisions. I love being able to reward my staff when it's due and just doing all the fun stuff that you want to do with a team and your company and growing it the way you want to grow it. And like I say, not power trip, but I like being in charge.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. What advice do you think or what is the critical thing that you've learned in this time? It's probably going to be something different for everybody, but what do you think that your biggest takeaway has been from like COVID-19?
That I don't like working at home.
Fair.
Yeah. So the team and I, we started working from home a few days before we went into national lockdown. I think there was a lot of uncertainty in the office, and the staff were getting concerned as it was only normal. Like there was a pandemic on the horizon, and no one knew what was going to happen. So we worked from home. We took all the screens, the laptops, everything, and we got set up. And for the first week, it was like a novelty. Oh, great, working from home. No getting stuck in traffic for 45 minutes in the morning. Not on the way home. Literally switch off at 5 and go and have a beer. That didn't happen, but So for the first week or so, it was all right, and then you start to get fed up because you're confined in 4 walls of your house and you're living, working and doing everything from one house, and it's just I did not like it, and the team didn't like it either. They liked being in the office, having that camaraderie. I wanted to say the French right there. And everyone was desperate to get back. We didn't go straight back to the office. I had to make sure that it was completely safe for them to go back, and like everyone, we had to do risk assessments, make sure that the policies and procedure are in place to keep the team safe, to obviously prevent any kind of spread of the virus. We had to do all that, and then we went back to the office kind of late June last year, and we've stayed in the office ever since. We've been really fortunate as an industry to continue working throughout. We didn't have to furlough anyone. I think we furloughed one member of team for about a month or so, because they were really new they were new. I think about anything, like I said, I just didn't enjoy working from home. So it's quite hard when people ask, oh, how are you getting on because of the pandemic and whatnot? But as an industry, we haven't, it's thrived.
It boomed.
Yeah,
it's boomed. Yeah, no stamp duty.
Exactly.
People realising where they live is shit. I mean.
Yeah, and that's what spurred on the industry, because people were working from home and thinking, hold on a minute, I don't want to live here. I want a garden. I want to be closer to the outdoor space. I don't want to be sat in a one-bed flat with no access to green space. So that spurred on a lot of people either buying or renting.
One of my favourite questions is, what would you say to your teenage self?
So growing up, well, even now, I'm not an academical person. I've never have been, never will be. I've worked really hard to get where I am. And I think when you're younger, you don't see all the opportunity that's available to you. I think it's literally like, be a doctor, be a policewoman, man, work in a shop, or be a solicitor. It's very like, there's no diversity. There's no different roles. Like me being like an estate agent, I wouldn't have ever thought that. Like, I didn't even think I'd own my own business. So
Yeah.
let alone obviously in what I'm doing now. I thought it would be more in the social work kind of line of things. So yeah, I mean, if I had to look at myself now as a teenager, I think just don't sweat it. Just keep going and keep being a good person, because people buy people at the end of the day. Like you were saying earlier, it's not necessarily about experience anymore. It's about who you are and what you're about as a person.
So thinking about when you started out, what's the one piece of advice that you would take from that and give to somebody else starting a company today or starting an estate agency?
There's a lesson to always be learnt in anything you do. I think in my industry, if you don't get instructed to sell a property or rent a property, take something away from it, learn how to do it better next time, and don't take it to heart, which is so easy. It's easily done, and just keep going and keep learning. Like we said earlier, every day is a school day, and I think that's so important. You can never have enough knowledge. Yeah, and just don't sweat it. I think there's loads of things you could say to a new business owner, but I think that you're going to make mistakes along the way, and you're just going to have to own them.
Yeah, I would say like choose wisely who you take your advice from.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
So thinking about your business and how you're planning to like grow the business. So have you picked a strategy? So what I mean by that is like, I've gone through quite a lot of life-changing stuff at present, and one of the things that I've done to myself is gone, right, why are you doing this, and what is in it for you? Have you got any? Have you planned it out like that? Are you thinking about it?
Yes and
like
no.
that?
I think I see in my head where I want to be and how I've got to get there, and the plans we have in place to grow the business. But I just think sometimes it never goes to plan. And even though you might have a base plan, I think sometimes it's just go with the flow and see what happens, because things can surprise you all the time, good and bad things. And again, I think I get too caught up in a bit anal about, well, no, my plan says this, I should be doing this. And I make myself probably feel bad about myself if I don't reach a certain target or get to where I want to be. Like when I turned 30, 3 years ago, I think I had a mini breakdown. I think turning 30 was a massive thing, and in my head I should have been here, and I should have had this car, and I should have been this size of my business, and my business should be doing this. And because I hadn't got to all those points that I wanted to get to, I kind of felt like I'd failed at life. And I've always said since then, I look back when I turned 30, I think, oh my God, why was I so bad? But I was, and I've said to myself now, look, this is what we're going to do. And if we don't get there, then we'll look at why we haven't got there and we learn from it. And we just keep moving forward. And I think in the last 5 years, we were a complete startup. I didn't start from anything. I didn't have anything. And yeah, we've not to be big-headed, but we have done really well. And yeah, it's just about keeping ourselves on that right path to keep moving forward.
So that concludes another episode of Spotlight. On today's programme was Sophie Matthews from Tattersall's. Really interesting to hear her talk about how she worked for somebody else, didn't like it, and then used her experiences in that job to build her own business.